Jen from Fabulous Paper Emporium. I'm here today to show you this wonderful tower block card. I got inspired by Paul Ford's video, and he created a very similar card, but using like children's blocks, obviously not the actual wooden blocks, but the pictures were reminiscent of that. And so given that we are into our Thanksgiving weekend, I figured I would do something with a very fall and Thanksgiving themed card. But I really, really wanted to make this, so I didn't want to stick with the baby theme. So I've already made the base, but we're gonna make a base together, so don't worry. Then we'll decorate it. I have all the pieces. We'll go through that first. That hasn't changed. I just don't have the finished product to show you right now. So for the, oh, and I just wanted to show you, this does open, so it technically is a card. It just has this 3D component on the front. There we go. I'm gonna set that aside, and we'll go through our craft, or the card base. So we have 3 pieces in this craft paper, and we have, the first one is 11 1/4 by 5 5/8. Second one is 8 1/2 by 5 5/8. And the very last one is 6 5/8 by 1 7/8. So a lot of 8s again. We'll be scoring these together. There's lots of scoring, lots of cutting, excuse me, for this card. Now I have the hiccups, great. Okay, the orange cardstock, I've used it for 2 different things. This is the matte. There's 2 matte for the inside. Again, totally up to you if you want to go 2 or just 1, but this is cut at 5 1/2 by 5 1/2. And then these are what are going to cover or decorate the front, the blocks, and kind of give it that feel. And for the orange pieces, these ones are all cut at 1 3/4 by 1 3/4, and you're going to need 19 if you put them in all the areas that I did. So 19 is what I cut. I have, let's see here, I have 5 different designer papers. So basically I've done 4 of each, just because it's a nice round number. And so 4 of each, and this way it also gave me 1 spare to kind of play around with in terms of where I was going to lay the, how I was going to lay it out onto the cards. So the designer paper, depending on, you know, which patterns you're going to be choosing, I've done 20, I've done 4 of each. I think I've already said that, but ultimately you just need 19. You need the same amount for the orange as you do the designer paper. And the designer paper squares are 1 5/8 by 1 5/8. I've also cut a beautiful designer paper that is 5 3/8 by 5 3/8. And so that layers nicely on the orange, as you can see there. And then I've done white, and there's 1 piece of white that is 5 1/4 by 5 1/4. Basically, the reason for that is I decided to put the designer paper on this side, on the inside of the card, and then my white piece here where I can write something. All of this paper today is from the Hello Fall collection from Echo Park. Lovely collection. I have used it a lot and I'm really happy to say that I still have a lot left. So I'm really happy that I'll be able to kind of finish that off. And once I'm done the paper pack, then I think I'll come back and show you everything that you can make, because I still have quite a bit left over and I've used that quite a bit. So we'll get to starting. Gonna set all this stuff aside and we are going to get going on our scoring. So I'm going to get my scoreboard out. Okay, so we are going to start, the simplest score is with the base, the card piece that is 11 1/4 by 5 5/8. You're simply going to score that in half. And so this is going to be scored at 5 5/8. So we go to 5, and the 5/8 is right between the 5 1/2 and the 5 3/4. So we're just gonna, oops, do that a few times. You could always fold it in half and it would work equally as well. Okay, just gonna burnish that edge first before I move it to the side, lest I forget. The next piece that we're going to take is the one that's 8 1/2 by 5 5/8. We're going to flip it so that the 5 5/8 is across the top, and we're simply going to score it 1 7/8 on either side. So just to make this simple, and the fact that I don't have to do extra math on this side, I'm going to go to 1 7/8. And we're basically doing this, we're cutting the card in thirds. So I did 1 7/8, and then I flip my card around and I'm going to do 1 7/8 again. Really simple, taking math out of the equation. All right, so then we're going to lay the 8 1/2 inch side across the top, and we're going to do some more scoring. So we're going to start with this one at 1/2. I like to do 3 passes just because I'm not putting a lot of pressure. The next one that we're going to do is 2 3/8. So that is the notch in between the 2 1/4 and the 2 1/2. The next one is 4 1/4, followed by 6 1/8. And then the last one is at 8. There we go. And so now you can kind of see, I don't know if you can actually see that or not. I'd have to stand to see. But you've got a bit of a grid pattern kind of going on here. So before we start moving on to anything else, the one thing that I did want to do is I'm going to go to the 6 5/8. Where's the 6 5/8? And what we're going to do is we're going to score, but we're going to stop at our first score line. So you see, I'm not going to go all the way across, but then we are going to repeat this on the other side. So we're basically leaving the middle square is being left alone. So I'm just going to, boy, it really is hard to see. So you know what? I'm going to flip it over. I'm going to cheat. This way it's a little bit easier to see. So again, I'm going to go to my 6 5/8, and I'm scoring right to the first score mark. And this is going to become important because we need some flaps and things to create this box. If you can see on the inside, I've got some tabs, and this is what's going to help make that. Okay, so we're done with this piece. And now we're going to bring in our last piece, and that's the 1 7/8 by 6 5/8. So with the 6 5/8 across the top, we're going to do basically the same scoring as what we did before. So we're going to do a 1/2, and then we're going to go 2 3/8. We're going to do 4 1/4 and 6 1/8. There we go. There we have it. Okay, so I'm going to remove my scoreboard and I'm going to get my score tape out. I am just going to use some 1/4 inch. And what we are going to do now is we are going to put some score tape on the top and bottom of our little 1 7/8 by 6 5/8. We're going to put a little bit of tape at the top and bottom. Make sure that that's well adhered. On this one, so on the side where you just have one solid without the tabs, so at the top here, I've got the extra score marks that we did. At the bottom, it's just one solid. So we are going to put our score tape across here. And then we are going to do some cutting. Could have done the cutting beforehand, but I forgot. So for the cutting, what we are going to do is we are going to go in on our first score mark that is going this way. And we are going to, sorry, I've got to kind of angle it so that I can actually see the score marks. Could have gone a little bit. So what you're going to do is you're going to cut along the score lines. So you're going 1 block, 2 blocks, and then you stop after the second block. You're going to stop at the score line. And then we're going to do the same thing on this side. Trying to get as close to the score line without going over. Okay, perfect. Okay, so what we are going to do is we are going to cut the first block. I'm going to fold it so that you can kind of see what I'm doing. So here we have one little tab, then the block. We're cutting this block off right here. Perfect. So that's done. And then we are cutting this block off. Just repeating it on the other side. Okay, so those are done. And then you end up with 2 flaps with a longer flap in the middle, and then we have these tabs. So at the top of each of these, you should have a 1/2 inch tab at the top. What we're gonna do is we're gonna lay our score tape down. On each of those tabs. All right, perfect. And the next thing is we're going to get out our card. Okay, so for this bottom tab where you have the long length of score tape, just bend that over. Get your bone folder. You do want that kind of burnished a little bit. The rest of your score lines, just give them a fold. They don't have to be burnished like you would with a card. The reason being is we really don't want it to be folded in half necessarily. We do want the blocks just to be folded at a 90-degree angle. So I am going to fold and press down on my tabs, but everywhere else can just be folded and press gently to create that 90-degree angle. And the same thing with this. We're going to fold our tabs. Just kind of press that. There we go. And the last one. Okay, what I am going to do, just because it really does make things a little bit tidy, is I am going to miter the corners. And what you're going to do is you're just doing that on your tabs. You don't need to do it for the bottom one. So it's just on these top 3 and the one on the small guy. All right. So we are, I should have gotten my smaller scissors out for this, but that's okay. Nobody's really going to see it. I've got paper flying all over the place. It is there we go. Okay, let's move all this stuff out of the way. Now that I've got it all over my mat. Okay, so now you have a decision to make, whether or not you are going to have this card open this way or flip open that way. It's completely up to you. Kind of partial to the ones that open like a book. I don't know if there's a specific word for that, but anyhow. So I'm going to take my strip off, get this aligned with the bottom. Sorry, there's a little bit of a shadow, so it's making it a little bit difficult, challenging for me to see the bottom of the card. There we go. Okay, once you are happy with it, go ahead, let go, let go of the reins, and away you go. Okay, perfect. I'm actually really happy with that. Oh, I've got a little bit of the score tape hanging off. Okay, So the next thing we're going to do is we're going to take the first score line and we're just going to fold it down. So this is going to leave our tabs part of the way down. This is what we want. We're going to peel all of these back, get rid of the score tape backing, and we're going to stick these down. So we're just going to flip the tab, get it stuck to your finger, and then you become one with the card. So just flip and stick. And this last one, flip and stick. And once you've done that, ooh, it's starting to take shape. So we've got most of it done. We just need to add our front box. That's going to go right on the front. And so we are going to get rid of, whoops, our tab. We're going to do the same thing. I'm just bringing this down like this because it's going to sit right in front of here. So I'm bringing it down. I'm folding this over. And again, lining it up right in between those first two, the middle two score lines, adhering that down. And then I really like the trick of folding it and then, sorry, you fold it down and then again, you're gonna lay it down, whoops, like that. Okay, perfect. And so there you go. May need a little bit of finagling, but voila, that is your Tower Block card in the nude. We need to dress her up now. So I am going to take a moment. I'm going to glue all these down. I do have a bit of a pattern. I'm like a sucker for pattern. And so I guess it doesn't really matter which one I do because they're both the same. So I'm going to go to it, and I've got, just to show you again really quickly, I've got this beautiful leaf pattern. I have this polka dot. I have one that has these little tiny acorns and oak leaves and things like that. I have this check and then this gingham. So I'll be placing these. I'll be doing a lot of fast forwarding, and then I will join back with you in a few moments. Okay, so here we have it. And now that I see it actually all put together, it kind of reminds me of a patchwork quilt. So very, very apropos, although our weather has not been very quilt-like. It's been very mild, so we'll take it while we can get it, because I'm sure we'll be moaning and groaning about the winter weather and the snow in short weeks. So yeah, so I just wanted to show you kind of the pattern that I had in my head. So I've used the gingham and the dots for the top sides, and because I really wanted to showcase this beautiful paper with the leaves and the plaid. So that is basically what my card looks like. I've filled in as many spots as I possibly can. I think the only spots that I haven't are basically facing this way, but you're not really going to look at it that way. It's mostly going to be from the top or from the front. So this is why I've used 19 of those little tiny squares. And anyways, I'm really, really thrilled with that. But we're not done yet. We want to decorate on the inside as well. So I will take my designer paper and I'm gonna glue that to the orange. Gonna get that all stuck down. Make sure I have it right to the edge. Otherwise, it's gonna start peeling. We don't want that. We do not want that. Awesome. So I'm gonna stick that on the left side of the inside, because that's not complicated. Hopefully that makes sense, but you'll see shortly when I put it down. All right, just to make it easier to place, I've kind of folded the front down, and the front does fold nicely down, or up rather, if you're going to be, whoopsie, you're going to be putting this in an envelope. It does fold all the way up. You could have it like that, but it does fold so you can put it in a 6x6 envelope. Not exactly your standard, but whoever is getting this card is not exactly, you know, standard. So I'm going to put down my white on my orange for the inside. I have got some ephemera already picked out. I am like beyond thrilled with how this card has turned out. And I'm glad that I got to put it together for the first time with you guys. All right, so the bits of ephemera that I have picked out, I'm going to put them on before I stick the inside in, is there's this lovely line of trees that is part of the ephemera pack. So I'm going to glue that right down, right at the bottom. Fits perfectly. I have done some, I've inked my edges as well. And then there's a little banner flag thingy. I assume that's what it's called. A banner flag thingy. That's the technical term. Look it up. And that's, I think, how I'm going to leave it. I'm going to be wanting to write a little message. I'm pretty sure it's going to be given out this weekend to family that I have not seen in quite some time. So I'm really, really thrilled about that. So there we go. Glued it on. And there we have it. So there we have my take on the Tower Block card. As I said, many thanks to Paul Ford with his amazing video, and hopefully I've done it justice. And I'm, super thankful for everything, especially you guys. It is a privilege, I think, sometimes to be able to do stuff that you actually love and are passionate about. So I really appreciate your time. I would love for you to give me a big old thumbs up. That would help me in many ways, and I would be eternally grateful. So hopefully everybody has a fantastic Thanksgiving, and I will be seeing you during the week. Thank you so much again. Hope you stay safe and well. Thanks again. Happy Thanksgiving. Bye.